Hello everyone. In this video we will discuss about performance of demand paging. So already we know what is meant by demand paging. So whenever the accessing page is not available in main memory, we need to transfer that particular page which is available in secondary disk, and from the disk to main memory we need to transfer that page. So this is what demand paging, and all these transfer operations has been done only at the time of execution. So if you're executing any of the process, so process if you're executing means, so what does it mean? It may leads to many number of pages, so you need to execute more number of pages. Some in some cases, few pages will not be available that belongs to the same process. It will not be available in main memory because of the less capacity of main memory. It can hold only few set of pages. So the remaining all set of pages will be maintained in the secondary device, or it is said to be disk. So whenever you are required to execute that particular page which is not available in main memory, that is said to be a page fault. So whenever you get any page fault, so what you have to do, you need to check whether that page is available in disk. So if it is so, then you can transfer that page into main memory. So this is what demand paging. So if you are transferring any of the page from disk to main memory, is said to be demand paging, and all these things will be done at the time of execution. So this is what demand paging. So what could be the performance of demand paging? So which means the performance of demand paging may either increase or decrease the performance of the system, computer system. So let us see how the performance will affect the performance of the computer system. So here we have to represent what is the effective access time, which means you're just going to refer any of the page. So what could be the time taken to access that particular page, even if you get the page fault or if you don't get the page fault. So that is what we're going to discuss now. So if you don't get any page fault, which means whatever the page you want to access, so that is available in main memory, so that is nothing but the memory access time. So if you don't get any page fault, so the time taken to access the page is nothing but which is equivalent to a normal memory access time. So here, usually if you want to access any of the page in memory, or we can say if the memory access time, which is represented as MA, and it has ranges from 10 to 200 nanoseconds. This is what the usual memory access time for any page that you want to refer. Suppose if you get any page fault, then what could be the effective access time? If you don't have page fault, then your effective access time is equal to the memory access time. Suppose if you get any page fault, then you need to read that particular page from the disk to the main memory. So that could be the additional time you may require, isn't it? So we need to calculate what is the additional time that we need to perform all these things, transfer operation. So whenever you get the page fault, so here we are using some probability, because probability is nothing but possibility of getting the result to be done, isn't it? So possibility, so how, what could be the possibility of getting the correct result, or what could be the possibility of getting the incorrect result? So that is what probability. So here, probability of getting the page fault, which is nothing but we are representing it as a p, and the p value ranges from 0 to 1. 0 is less than or equal to p, and which is less than or equal to 1. So this could be the range of the probability. So usually this p value, which is very close to 0, it should be very close to 0, then only we can say we are getting only few page faults. So if you get more number of page faults, then obviously it will degrade the system performance. So we should not allow the system to get more page faults. In order to increase the effective access time, which means in order to increase the system performance very well, so we need to minimize the effective access time. So that is what we are going to do. So here the effective access time has been calculated with this formula: 1 minus p into memory access plus p into page fault time. Here it is given as page fault time. So if you don't get page fault, then the probability P means probability of getting the page fault. Okay, if you don't get page fault, then we can represent it as 1 minus P, and what was the usual memory access time, so that will be represented here. Suppose if you get page fault, then P into page fault. Okay, so here MA represents the memory access and page fault. PFT is nothing but page fault time. P is the probability of page fault occurrence, and 1 minus P is said to be the probability of accessing the memory in available frame, which means you don't get any page fault. Okay, now so what could be the steps to be followed whenever you get any page fault in the system? Okay, suppose if you access the memory and if you are getting page fault, so what are all the steps to be followed? So that we will discuss later on. We will discuss the example for effective access time. So if you look at this, to service the page fault, so if you get the page fault, so how can we respond to that page fault? First step is we need to produce that as an error, and that trap has to be sent to the operating system, because whenever you get a kind of fault or any error, you should return the control to the operating system, because after that operating system should take over all the responsibility of solving or resolving all those faults or error. Next step is save user register and process state, because in the middle of execution only you will be getting the page fault, which means you are just trying to execute the entire process. So in the middle of executing of process, so you will be getting this page fault. So you need to save all the user registers or the process state, whatever it is currently executed, right? So next step is determine the interrupt. So you need to determine the interrupt. So what kind of interrupt you are getting? It is a page fault interrupt, so you should determine it. And the fourth step is check the page reference was legal and determine the location of the page on the disk, which means when we'll be getting the page fault. So if the page is not available in main memory, which represents the page fault, isn't it? So we need to check whether the page reference, which means it is invalid or valid. So if it is invalid, then you need to transfer that particular page from disk to main memory. So that is what fourth step. So if you initiate the transfer operation, so what is the first step to be done, which is nothing but issuing a read operation. So you need to read a page from the disk. So issuing a read from the disk to a free frame. So in that you need to wait in a queue for the, because there might be many number of requests, read request has been given to the disk for transferring any such pages, isn't it? So you need to wait in a queue in order to perform your given request, and wait for the device seek or a latency time. So it takes some time to search that particular page in the disk, though it has been stored in contiguous manner, so it needs to access that particular page. So seeking time, which is nothing but the time that it takes to accessing that particular page, is nothing but seeking time. Begin the transfer. So after getting that page, so you need to transfer that page from the disk to a free frame. So in main memory, wherever the free frame is available, to that frame this page has been transferred. And the next step is while we are performing the transfer operation, so what the CPU will do? It could not sit idle, isn't it? Because we are performing everything in multi-programming, or even you can work in a multi-processing environment. The CPU would not sit idle always. So we can perform the CPU scheduling task, then only it can execute any other process, because the currently running process is actually waiting for some of the pages that to be transferred from the disk to the main memory. So the CPU can be given for any other process to be executed. So this step is actually optional. The CPU scheduling task is actually optional. So some system may follow, otherwise some systems will not allow to perform the CPU scheduling. Okay, and the next step is receive and interrupt. So once you transferred all the operation, which means all the pages whichever you need to execute to the main memory, then one interrupt will be given to the given by the device, IO device, which means the input output device. Okay, and afterwards save the registers. Again we need to save the registers and process state of, because currently we are performing this read operation, which is nothing but transferring the page from the disk to main memory. So we need to save all these user registers as well as the process state. And the next one is determine that the interrupt was from the disk. So we need to determine that interrupt and we need to respond to that interrupt, which means we are going to execute the old process. So we should schedule again this particular process to the CPU for execution. And before that, we need to correct the page table and all other relevant table to show the desired page is now in memory. That was the 10th step. And 11th step is we should wait for the CPU to be allocated to this process again, because again the scheduling process has to be done, because already we have given some other process, so it has to stop its execution and it has to get this old process, it has to resume this particular process. And finally, it will restore the user register process state. So whenever you're performing the switching operation in between the process, so we need to follow all these basic steps, which are nothing but you need to save the user register and your process state information. So everything you have to save it accordingly, so that the CPU can get the process after completing the old process. So these are all the steps to be followed whenever you get the page fault in the system. But among these 12 steps, so only 3 steps are treated as a much more important step, which is nothing but service the page fault interrupt, read in the page, and the next one is restart the process. So you need to concentrate on these 3 steps. Okay. So when you're coming to calculation of the effective access time, so if you're considering the probability, so if you're considering the memory access, which is nothing but, as I told, the access time ranges from 10 nanoseconds to 200 nanoseconds. So here in this example we have taken 200 for memory access time, and for page fault time it is given as 8 milliseconds. Because for the page fault time, so you need to perform the 3 major operation, that is service the page fault interrupt. So you need to respond to that interrupt. So for that it takes 3 milliseconds. Seek time, which means you want to perform the read operation on that page which is available in disk. So you need to access that page, you need to find out that page where it is available in disk. So that is what seek time. And the time taken to perform the seek operation is nothing but 5 milliseconds, and transfer time, which is nothing but 0.05 milliseconds. So totally we can say 8 milliseconds for the page fault time. So if you calculate, if you substitute all these values in the given formula, so you will be getting 1 minus p into 200 plus p into 8 milliseconds, and you need to convert, because it is a nanoseconds, so you should convert this millisecond into nanoseconds. So you need to multiply with 10 power 6. So that is what you are doing here. And if you multiply this, you will be getting 200 minus 200p plus 800,000p. So and you have to subtract this with this 200, so you will be getting 7,999,800p. So this is what the effective access time if you get the page fault rate. So we have not given what could be the probability. Yes, so what could be the probability? So even if you get suppose if you're getting the page fault for every 1000 references or every 1000 access of the pages, if you get one page fault, then your effective access time will be 8.2 microseconds. Then, which means what, the computer will slow down by the factor of 40 because of the demand paging, because on every access of the page it will get that page fault error, and obviously it has to perform this demand paging concept, so it will degrade the performance of the system performance. So this is what somewhat to be whatever the performance degradation, so we want to be keep all those performance degradation to be less than 10%. So we need to keep the probability of page faults which should be a minimal one, so then only we can represent, will be getting the less page fault, so that it will not degrade the system performance. This is how we are calculating the effective access time in case of demand paging. Thank you.